May is a time to raise awareness of those living with mental or behavioral health issues and to help reduce the stigma that so many experience.
We had the chance to speak with our friend Dr. Jessica Britt Thomas. She's Director of Integrated Behavioral Health at the Department of Family and Community Medicine at MCG Wellstar. And we talked about the importance of mental health and its impact on all of our well-being. Dr. Jessica, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Good to see you all.
Thank you. Good to see you.
May being Mental Health Awareness Month, let's talk about this. What are the rates of mental illness that we are looking at now?
Yes, so the National Alliance of Mental Illness, NAMI for short, always kind of gives updated information. And so the most recent 2023 information found that 1 in 5 adults experience or suffer a mental health illness at some point. Within the United States, 1 in 20 adults. And if we're talking specific to children, ages 6 to 17, about 17% of those age ranges will experience some form of a mental health concern across their lifetime.
And what about the prevalence of mental illness rates here?
Yeah, so what we know is that anxiety disorders, so anxiety as a whole, which I've talked about before as the leading cause of diagnoses or reports, followed by depression and then substance use. So that is not just alcohol or illicit substances. There's also caffeine. We forget about caffeine, but that falls under substance use as well. If we break it down by demographics, we see an overwhelming prevalence with LGBTQ plus members at 50% of experiencing some form of a mental illness, followed by Native Americans, Alaskan natives, and then ethnicities of mixed races will experience reporting mental health concerns at high rates.
Of course, we'd love to see the lower numbers,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But what are some warning signs that someone may be experiencing a decline in their mental health?
Yeah, so there's not one shoe that fits all. There's very specific criteria for specific disorders, but we see universally, we see typically big changes in mood, unusual changes, changes in someone's sleep patterns or appetite patterns, maybe in more extreme cases, increase in alcohol or drug use, decline in work performance, which isn't always something that we notice right away, increase in anxiety and difficulty with concentration are some of the common things you may see.
What about the effects of mental health personally?
Personally, yeah. So we see some of it from a personal standpoint. Is it could be around health, so mental health and physical health. We see individuals with depression are also at a higher risk, 40% chance of also experiencing a cardiovascular or metabolic disease. We also see that as also being an increase in substance use disorder, but there's also ripple effects, what we call, that expand past the family and they go into the community as well. So caregivers of loved ones tend to see or tend to report on average about 32 hours of unworking paid time, just additional time helping someone with a mental illness.
Right.
Anxiety and depression as a whole costs our global economy about $1 trillion each year in treatment. So it's a pretty big deal, along with depression being the leading cause of disabilities worldwide.
Wow. And Dr. Jessica, how can we support a loved one dealing with mental health concerns?
Yeah. So again, I know it's not an easy conversation. Being aware, we have a stigma around mental health. There's also some cultural taboos around mental health. But the SAMHSA website has a lot of good conversation starters, as we say, where you're asking very simple, expressing some concerns. I've seen that you've changed. Your mood has been different. I'm worried about you. Can I help? What can I do? We've also talked about sometimes it's not the best place. Someone wants to talk about their mental health, but not in the middle of the hallway of the work world or the water cooler. It's not water cooler table talk. So maybe setting up a time to discuss later, but just showing some support. And even if that person doesn't want to talk with you, supporting them and getting them to the right person is also helpful.
In terms of support, let's talk about this, finding out for information. Where are some resources that you can go to get?
Yeah, so as I've been highlighting, NAMI is an excellent place for a lot of information in terms of statistics and then toolkits. SAMHSA is another great national institute that we look at for resources. The Mental Health of America, and then also SAMHSA specifically has some different kind of cues or dialect that you can look into in terms of language you can use when you're wanting to talk or interact around mental health concerns.
All right, great.
Lots of resources, and always, you're not alone.
You're not
Exactly.
alone.
Always help.
Yeah, always help.
Dr. Jessica Britt Thomas, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Stick